Hi, I'm Lippy.
And I'm Grumpy. Together we're Lippy and Grumpy Do Podcasting.
In each podcast we'll be ignoring the important issues of the day and rambling through a variety of topics.
And hopefully we'll be able to convince some guests to take part too. Remember the rules, Lippy, and this applies to you. No bad language. I really don't want to spend this evening bleeping out your potty mouth. Thank you very much.
I'll do my best.
Well,
I'll do my best.
You'll do better than your best. There's no politics. We won't be discussing anything to do with number 10, number 11, 12, 13 or 56.
Don't know anything about it anyway.
No, who wants to know? And we're not going to discuss in detail global pandemics, although obviously the name will be mentioned. So the last few days then?
I have started my very first big sewing project.
Ooh.
So it did get off to a bit of a rocky start, I'm not going to lie. I had to unthread a few things. But I now have a fully made handbag.
Fantastic. If only this was video, you'd be able to see it.
I'm quite glad it's not though, because I put my pyjamas on for this.
Oh, have you? I had dressed for Zoom.
So it's got its little own popper and everything, so...
Very good. Very.
All made with scrap ends of material, so
Excellent.
saving the environment and all that.
So somebody missing a bit of their three-piece suit.
Yeah, or a big square out of their sofa, because it's canvas.
Very good. Remind me to check the back of ours later.
Yeah, it's actually the same colour as well.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I came across something interesting on one of the social media platforms available to us. Popped up about all you need to know about podcasting and starting podcasting, which I thought was probably worth reading, as this is our very first podcast.
I'm glad one of us read something.
It said a number of things, but it said know your audience, and I don't really think there's anybody listening, to be honest.
Probably not.
No, and we didn't start this to make huge amounts of money, although if somebody pays us an awful lot of money, we'll accept it. Thank you very much.
I won't need to get a job then.
Well, that's it. This is more about promoting you and getting you a job, so get you off the sofa, off that sewing machine, and back into working. So that came as a bit of a shock. The other thing that's been quite interesting in the last few days here has been the geese flying over the house.
I've heard about the geese on a phone call with the mother.
With mother of Lippy and husband of Grumpy. Yes, they've been doing well.
Wife of Grumpy.
Wife of Grumpy, yes.
You said husband of Grumpy.
Oh, did I?
Oh, no.
Yes. No, surely not.
Yeah.
Well,
when you listen to that bit back, we're not editing that out either. That's staying in.
No, jolly good. Anyway, back to the geese, which is a very difficult word to spell, because however you spell it, it looks wrong.
I'm not going to lie. I saw that on the agenda earlier and I was like, I don't know what that word says.
I think it's geese. It didn't come up as you spelled it incorrectly.
I thought.
But anyway, back to the geese rather than my ability not to spell. Yeah. So they clearly practice over the autumn months flying in a V. And they have been pretty spectacularly bad at it, hasn't it? They make a hell of a lot of noise as they go over. I mean, it's real, but it's lovely. Don't get me wrong; it's a really nice sound. But this week they have got the V, and there are a lot of them. I don't know where they're flying from and to. Presumably a nearby lake. There are a few around here. Maybe up to a few villages. Who knows? But it's been a really nice thing to see. So, I guess they'll be doing whatever they do in the autumn very soon.
I can imagine that's like, I feel like the geese noises is them chatting to each other, trying to get that V in place. It's like, you in the back, move over.
I think that's spot on, yeah. It's either that or, look at us, we can fly and poo on people's heads. Yes, very good. Yes, and the other odd noise, which I think you mentioned when you visited at the weekend, is an odd alarm sound that goes on from 7 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock. And I think it's in one of the houses in the road, and somebody may have gone on holiday and left their alarm clock switched on.
That makes sense.
And it was an hour today, and it's not loud here, but you just hear, I can hear an alarm. What's going on?
That's exactly how I woke up and I was like, what is that? I don't know what that is. And then I've started blaming someone else, being like, they've left their alarm on, not turned it off when they left the house. Well, turns out it's coming from outside.
Clearly that's what it is. So maybe a bit of investigation tomorrow morning if it's not pouring rain. too
Go
far
knocking
away.
on some doors.
Well, maybe not that far, but having a look through some windows. Yes.
Peeping Tom.
Yes. And I got some news from the allotment.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, this has been an ongoing project for me for many, many years, and I seem to have got past the stage of killing everything and now having everything eaten by small furry creatures who can bite through quite thick plastic netting. It's quite impressive. So, sweet corn again, second year running, utter disaster.
Been eaten.
No, well, a few have been eaten, but my method for doing them the first year, which turned out to be very good, I started, but I think the seed might have been a bit too old. And then I've discovered moving that they don't like their roots being disturbed. So, and I think that's what happened. So I bunged some straight in the ground, which grew quite well, but I think it was all a little bit late. So some of the cobs aren't completely formed, and some of them have got yellow on there. But I think I know what I've done wrong.
So next year,
have
some perfect
but my
corns.
beans, my Boletti beans, are prolific beyond belief.
Are they?
So yeah, so we had quite a big bean stewy thing over the weekend from them, and there's a lot more to come. They're not quite ready to be podded yet. But,
What kind of bean?
They're really pretty. They're Boletti beans. So when they're ripe, they're a white bean, but they've got red lines around them.
Oh,
Really
I've not seen a
quite.
bean like that before.
No, and interesting, when you cook them, the red lines disappear, which is somewhat odd.
Interesting.
But the first time we tried to cook them, we'd undercooked them, and it was a bit like eating pebbles. Let's put it that way, and it caused quite a lot of digestive distress.
Oh no,
No two ways about it.
that's quite common in our family. Though,
no, but not
digestive
not like
distress.
that. Sort
Oh,
of more
okay.
of a slowing motion rather than accelerating.
Well, nice change for once.
Yes, indeed. So, I think a little bit more work over winter. I got some compost to go down, cardboard. So
Cardboard.
yeah, it's good for keeping down the weeds over winter.
Well, if you want some, I have a lot. From
No, I
Aldi.
got a load because I was keeping it for you, if you remember. So I've got a garage full
That's
of
why
the
I've got a
stuff.
lot as
Yeah.
well.
So we'll see how we get
Didn't
on. I
move
think
in the end.
yes, I think I've got enough, but if not, I know where to come from.
Definitely.
Anyway, enough chit chat from the week. On to
yes.
the chosen topics for this week. So I'm going to kick off with digital pregnancy testers.
And this one, I've been intrigued because you dropped it in a conversation a few weeks ago, and ever since my little brain's been ticking, thinking, I don't know what he's going to say about this.
No, but this is quite interesting because I came across this a few weeks back, and it was an interesting thread, and it just continued to get more and more interesting. So if you take a traditional pregnancy tester, which would have been around for 30 years, I guess, so you have a bit of sort of wicking paper, and you wheel on one end, and it works its way up the paper. And then there's an area with presumably some sort of chemical on there, and if it detects whatever it detects in the wee, it puts a line on the paper. Very simple, and it either works or it doesn't work. It's very easy. So digital one, you'd expect to be oodles better, more accurate, more precise, whatever. Definitely good. So this guy decides to buy it, and admittedly they were quite cheap ones. This was an American. I think it was 3 for $10 or something.
That is quite cheap.
Yeah, well, it is relatively cheap for something that's manufactured like that. So he took it to pieces, and then there's a very small watch battery in there, which you're going to use for 3 minutes, maybe, before throwing it away. These are one-use things; they're not reusable.
Oh no, well you can't pee on something twice.
No, but you could do like you have with a diabetes machine and have sticks that go in.
Oh God,
Possibly.
you've invented a whole new pregnancy test.
Well, maybe I haven't. Who knows? Anyway, so back to the dissection of this pregnancy tester. So he then there's a circuit board with a chip in it, a little processor chip in it, which he reckoned had more processing power than the very first IBM personal computer back in the 80s.
Wow.
Interesting. There's a little LED display that tells you whether you're pregnant or not, and there's a bit of wiring and a bit of other circuitry in there. So the one thing missing from that, of course, is a sensor that determines whether or not you're pregnant. This sensor sits above the wicking strip, and it's not a sensor to detect a protein or anything like you would imagine in there. It's actually a light sensor. Yes, so
the colour of your wee?
no. So The wicking strip is identical to the one you get in the analog version. So it works its way up there. There's a bit of chemical in there. The chemical turns dark if you're pregnant.
Oh no, it always turns dark. It turns dark further up.
I don't really want to know about this. So, but anyway, the sensor detects whether that line appears in the paper. So all that sensor's doing is replacing your eyes. There's no cleverness in this whatsoever. It is purely a light sensor.
I do. The thing is, though, when you're sitting, this is the moment that you admit to your father that you've taken a pregnancy test before. That when you're looking at that thing and you're trying to work out what these lines mean, it's very confusing. And having those words that say "not pregnant" is definitely the way forward for those.
Well, maybe, but what if that piece of paper is slightly misaligned? So the sensor's not over the line in the paper. Then you get a false positive.
Well,
and you think
then
because
you go to the doctor.
Well, yeah, but you think because it's digital, it'll be very,
it would
very,
be right.
Yeah, but it's not. And all this stuff, of course, you use once and it goes to landfill, which is, it's a disgrace in my view, to be honest.
Yeah, well, with the amount of technology in it, if you said it has more processing power.
That's the interesting bit, because this then went on further, and you probably won't remember this, but in the 90s, around the time you were born, there was a game called Doom, which I think has been made into a film since then, that ran on a computer on DOS, so it's going back quite a bit. But you could network it, so if you just happened to be in an office full of people and wanted to test a network, it was a brilliant way of testing networks, because there were loads of traffic going all over the place. This guy has managed to get Doom running on this pregnancy tester, including the LCD display.
No way.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. I'm not quite sure how he controlled it. I think it might have been, you might have had added a Bluetooth keyboard or something on there, but yeah, absolutely incredible. So these are completely over-engineered for what they are.
Massively.
Which is astonishing. But I'll stick some links to that on our website under the episode page, because it's an interesting investigation into stuff we don't need, basically.
Yeah. Well, you never know. Some clever tech guy could have a little tweak of them.
Well, yes, and reuse them, somebody's weed on into a games console, which sounds a bit bizarre, but
you never know. In 10 years' time, you might have a little pregnancy used test drop-off centre. You know, when you reusable needles and things like that, you have to take them to a certain place.
Yes, well, maybe. I mean, and there's minerals and metals and stuff that can come out of that, so it could be recycled. Really, I mean, hey ho. Anyway, on from something we don't really need to something we do.
Oh,
cheese.
This is my favourite. Cheese. We've looked at ordering our cheese advent calendar again this year.
Very good.
It's a good little selection of miniature cheeses. Get a little bite a day. Great smoked one in there.
Well, that's what you want, the baby cheeses.
Always. Baby cheeses. I find they're better because I don't overindulge. I don't eat more than I should and get weird dreams, because that is the consequence of eating cheese, really, isn't it? Is the dreams that you get in the evening.
I don't think it is. I think that's a fallacy.
Oh no. You get some very vivid dreams after you've eaten cheese.
Well, I don't. I don't at all.
Do you not? Oh, well.
No, I think it's a complete fallacy. And I'm sure there's some information on the internet. So you're safe eating cheese, that's the main thing.
Oh, you're safe eating it, but the dreams are strange. Yes. The stronger you go, the weirder they get.
There was an episode of Men Behaving Badly, which again is probably a little bit before your time, where they did cheese impressions, which, apart from Red Leicester or maybe Edam, would be quite hard to do, I think.
French brie?
How would you... Obviously, this is a medium for video, not audio. But how would you do an impression of a French brie?
Oh, well, hopefully nobody French listens, but it's kind of that...
Don't kid yourself. Nobody's listening.
Well, you know, you do that. Yeah.
But the French have got so many wonderful, wonderful cheeses.
I lived there for 6 months.
From the sublime to the ridiculous. Hairy goat cheese, for example. So.
I saw